Hello, thoughtful, beautiful people. It's Thomas in New York. You know, the video, it's a little bit silly, but it actually did happen in 1922. All the way back to 1922, Straw Hat Riots. Let's talk. You might chuckle when you hear this story. You really will. I mean, it happened in 1922 when I guess there were simpler times in life. People didn't have the internet. People didn't have television. They were just alone with their thoughts. We're traveling back in time to New York City history back in 1922. And this is Lower Manhattan here. I am walking in and around Mulberry Street where this kind of originated. Its final destination will be Mulberry Street, just so you guys know. Right? So, you know me, I'm big into fashion. Wink, wink. Not even close. I just wear anything that keeps me comfortable. Not into fashion. But if you thought wearing white after Labor Day was a risky fashion faux pas, then you might not have heard of the Straw Hat Riots of 1922. In New York City history, this was the course of over 8 days where boys and men, they fought each other on the streets of New York, resulting in injury, jail time, and it was just a general mayhem. So, in the early 1900s, Straw Hat season for men, customary, I guess the unwritten rule, began on May 15th, which was Straw Hat Day, and ended on September 15th, which was Felt Hat Day. And it was considered an etiquette violation to wear the wrong hat outside of these dates. Now, leading up to let me rephrase that. Leading up to each new hat season, there was an uptick in newspaper advertising touting the latest styles or lowest prices, with many shops staying late open to accommodate shoppers. Yes, this really happened. This is a true story. To mark the end of summer, men would swap out their straw hats in mid-September. Stockbrokers, in an early display of quote-unquote bro culture, and presumably because they could afford to buy a new hat the next year, would playfully smash each other's straw hats, often on the stock market floor, on September 15th. The Pittsburgh Stock Exchange, perhaps in let's just say maybe taking a rebellious stance, lengthened its season in 1921 with the floor committee unanimously agreeing that straw hats may be worn with all the priority and dignity attached thereon to it up to and including October 1st, so they extended it to October 1st. This was from the New York Times paper. This was made public in September of 1921. Wow. Wild times back then, right? This celebratory ritual, destruction of straw hats, evolved beyond the Wall Street set, and men who dared to breach the seasonal hat dates, or were just oblivious to it, became subject to ridicule or having their hats snatched off. And so what happened in 1922, a few days even before the end of Straw Hat season, gangs of teen and preteen boys began harassing boulder-donning men and stealing or smashing their hats. These attacks and, skirmishes went on for 8 days with mobs of hundreds on the streets. Newspaper accounts had relayed the mayhem that was going on in the streets. Gangs of young hoodlums ran riot in various parts of the city last night, smashing unseasonable straw hats and trampling them in the street. A favorite practice of the gangsters was to arm themselves with sticks. Some of these sticks had a nail at the tip, and it compelled, compel men wearing straw hats to run a gauntlet, to run for their life. This one's from the New York Times back in September 16th of 1922. Because again, they were still wearing straw hats. Boys who were guided by the calendar rather than the weather, and most of all their troublemaking were they were indulged in a straw hat smashing everyone's hat throughout the city. So if you guys are following, this is going on throughout the city, various stages, and just, straw hats were a thing, and because they were wearing it past a certain date, it was considered a big no-no, and all these teens were taking them off other people's heads. Now, a dozen or more, according to reports, were arrested, and 7 were spanked. Now, this is in the article. They were spanked by their parents in the East 104th Street Police Station by order of the lieutenant at the desk. And these are real quotes from the New York Tribune, September 16th of 1922 as well. So part of their punishment, ordered by the lieutenant for causing this disruption, these boys were spanked in front of the lieutenant. Many men had fought back. One man had presumed to lose an eye, and many youths were brought to night court in front of the magistrate. Check this out. The magistrate's name was Peter A. Hatting. Yes, Hatting. And he had handed down fines and some short jail stays. And he has... Let's rewind that. There was a quote. "It is against the law to smash a man's hat, and he has a right to wear it in a January snowstorm if he wishes," declared the magistrate. That's right, Mr. Peter Hatting. For 100 years out, it is hard to understand all the fuss about hats. Perhaps anticipating the angst men were feeling about Hat Switch Day. Men were attached to their hats. And this is a quote from a column about men about men and their devotion to their hats, their attachment. Quote, "The average man's devotion to his hat is one of life's greatest mysteries. It seems to be something sacred in his life, which he cherishes and protects as passionately as he does his dignity, his honor, and his grandmother's memory. He will fight for it, quarrel over it, and he will risk his life under a motor truck or a trolley car to salvage its remains in a wind. When a boy wants to start a fight, all that he has to do is to snatch another boy's hat, and the battle is on." Here we are in Mulberry Street, scene of the crime, where it all happened many of years ago, where it started. Men fighting over straw hats, stealing straw hats, rather, teenagers stealing straw hats because men were wearing it after September 15th.
Thomas in New York. I bid you adieu. I must skedaddle. Hope all is well. And we'll chat very, very soon.